In today's video, we will continue discussing the steps to commission the Q.HOME Core energy storage system, this time as a grid support configuration. This video is intended as a quick reference guide for installers commissioning the Q.HOME Core energy storage system. Before commissioning, please visit QPartnersus.com and sign up to become a Q partner. Then register and complete the Q.HOME Core ESS training online. Once complete, email your core certificate to na.support@Qcells.com to receive your Q.HOME agent or installer credentials. To complete the commissioning process, you will need the following: access to the Q.HOME monitoring portal, access to the Q.HOME mobile app, established network communications for the inverter, a fully installed system ready to be powered on, and the Q.HOME Core Technical Resource Guide and Grid Support Kit Installation Manual. It's important to note that the grid support configuration requires a grid support kit to be installed along with the inverter and battery stack. A grid support configured system does not offer backup power during a grid outage. Commissioning the system includes the completion of the following steps: create an end-user account, add the end-user account to your system and site list, inverter communications setup, inverter configuration settings, system firmware update check, hardware check, and system review. Steps 1 through 3 are the same as those outlined in the backup-enabled Q.HOME Core commissioning video. For a detailed walkthrough of these steps, please check out the video linked in the description below. Otherwise, this video will go over the inverter configuration settings, system firmware updates, hardware check, and system review for a grid support configuration. Using the Q.HOME mobile app, log in and select the Inverter tab at the top of the screen. Find the inverter serial number associated with the system. The site will only appear in this list after it's been added to your installer account as a new device from the monitoring portal webpage. See Commissioning Step 2. Find the settings icon to the right of the inverter serial number and click on it to access the inverter settings. The settings will be characterized between Basic, Advanced, and Super. You will only need to access the basic and advanced settings to complete commissioning. Start with basic settings to verify the date, time, and language are correct. Select System Switch and set this to On. Then press Save. Select Work Mode and choose your desired mode appropriate for the system owner. Then press Save. Go back to the inverter settings and enter Advanced Settings. Input the password found in the commissioning guide to access advanced settings. Once in the advanced settings, select Grid Code and choose the code appropriate for your location. Scroll down the list to find Presence of Hub and mark this as disabled. Then press Save. Once complete, exit out of the inverter settings and go back to the inverter list to complete the next step. It is important to verify that the hardware is up to date with the most recent firmware version for optimal operation. From the same inverter list in the Q.HOME mobile app, locate the correct inverter serial number associated with the system. Find the firmware icon to the right of the inverter serial number and click on it to access the hardware firmware versions. Select the equipment classification and choose the most recent firmware version. When selecting the firmware version, check the remarks to verify the status as official version. Update the firmware in the following order: Communications Module, Inverter ARM, Inverter DSP, Inverter Deputy DSP, and Battery. Once fully downloaded, the inverter status will change to updating or show the updating icon. The update is complete when the status changes to Update Completed or the checkmark appears on the firmware. Once all firmware updates are complete, reset the system by powering down the hardware and then turn everything back on. The steps outlined for the firmware update require the inverter to be communicating with a network. If no network is available for the inverter to connect to, a local firmware update can be pushed using a USB thumb drive. Please contact support for more information on where to access these files. After resetting the system, the inverter will enter an automatic check mode. Once complete, confirm no errors or alarms are flagging on the system. Connect to the inverter locally or check the monitoring data to ensure solar is producing power and the battery is being charged. Confirm the consumption data is reporting correctly by checking that the utility meter readings match the consumption meter data with the solar and batteries turned off. Without proper load data, the battery will not operate correctly and can lead to issues or damage to the hardware. Ensure that the grid support meter kit run LED light shows solid green and that the consumption CTs are capturing all the home loads with the source arrows pointing away from the grid. If no alarms or errors persist and the load measurements match the utility meter readings, you have successfully completed the commissioning of the Q.HOME Core grid support system. Congratulations, and thank you for watching this video.